What's up guys, it's Ketchelmoto. Now that we've gotten most of the parts of this bike disassembled, we can go just a bit further and take apart the individual components. First thing we're going to do is remove the tires. This is so we can then delace the wheels and get access to the hubs for some deep cleaning. We're also going to be disassembling and rebuilding the front forks. Finally, we'll take apart the triple tree and handlebar, as these will eventually get cleaned as well. So, we need to deep clean just about everything on this bike, and I'll take you through some of my processes on how we can achieve that with minimal effort. Let's go. First thing to go are the two wheels. I'm taking these things completely apart. Ultimately, we'll be relacing both wheels and replacing the tubes and tires on both. So, first thing to come off is the tire. For this, I'm using Motion Pro's bead breaker to get me started in the right direction, and then a couple of Motion Pro tire irons. These always come in super handy for me, and I can't tell you how long I've had them in my toolbox. By the way, everything I'm using in this video, tools, parts, etc., is super accessible. I got most of everything I didn't have already from Amazon or Lowe's, and I've linked everything that I'm using down below. Alright, back to the tire. You really only need 2 tire irons to take off the tire, but I was feeling a bit lazy on this one, so I used 3. Once one side is off, you can push the tire to one side of the rim, begin to take out the tube. You have to undo the nut holding the tube in place to get it fully out. Once that's done, you can finally remove the tire. In this case, I'm taking off all of the spokes as well. I found my portable drill to be super helpful in this case and was able to completely delace the tire in about 20 to 30 minutes. On these vintage bikes, most of these spokes can be rusted in, so don't feel bad if it takes a bit of time to get them off. There are special tools out there for spokes specifically, but really an adjustable wrench and a flathead screwdriver can do the trick if you're patient enough. Make sure to get a good picture of the wheel before you start so you have a base reference to go off of when you put these things back together. I'm holding on to these spokes and nuts in the off chance I end up having to use them again. The second wheel went about twice as fast after I had already done everything with the first wheel. Like I said before, remember to take a picture as a reference before you take it completely apart. Next up is the fork disassembly. I'll be rebuilding the forks with a kit I found off of Amazon. However, first thing I need to do is clean off both forks since there's a fair bit of oxidation on the aluminum. Both forks are also covered in grime and need a good cleaning as well. Really, the only difficult process of this disassembly is getting the internal clip out. There are special tools for this out there, however, I found that using 2 small screwdrivers were able to do the trick. Have some patience with this one, as it may take a while to get it out. Once that clip is out, you're nearly done on these vintage forks. You're basically going to slam out the front fork pipe up against the front fork oil seal to dislodge it from the aluminum fork shell. You can see from both of the pipes that they're completely corroded. This corrosion can result in the oil seal not completely sealing against the fork pipes, which over time can be bad. Repeat this process for the second fork, and you'll have the forks completely disassembled. One last thing I still had to disassemble was the top triple tree and the handlebar. I'm going to have to completely clean this triple tree, and I'm thinking of just going with the brushed aluminum look for the final product. Alright, now for the good part. It's been a couple weeks since taking everything apart, and now I've got to get all of the paint, grit, and grime off these parts. Now I'm using a few different solvents as well. First is vinegar to remove rust and corrosion, second is simple green to remove dirt and debris, and finally WD-40 for the final cleaning and really just the polishing and final look. I used both vinegar and simple green and the Ultrasonic Cleaner with some fairly good results. One pro tip is to use these little bags with the solvent in the bags and to just fill up the Ultrasonic Cleaner with water. That way you're keeping all of that dirt and residue out of the machine. I would run the Ultrasonic Cleaner from anywhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours at a time, however you do see the results fairly quickly. It's also super handy at cleaning all of the nuts and bolts. The next step is using a 6-inch wire wheel on a bench grinder. If you don't have one, I implore you to get one. I bought mine on Amazon for $100 and have been using it non-stop since. This is a must-have. Be careful to make sure you grind the part you're cleaning in the same direction. This will ensure the eventual brushed aluminum finish is all in the same direction. It might take a while to get it to look right, but it's well worth it. I had to use the bench grinder on several different parts, and we'll go a little bit further on some of these parts with a portable drill and wire brush to get every last spot. one thing I'm super pumped about are these new bearings I found for the CL90. I actually got these things on Amazon, believe it or not, and I've linked them below. These will allow me to replace the old ball bearings on the stem. All you really need to do is replace the two races inside the frame at the stem on the top and bottom. I'll put in the new ones after I get the frame repainted. For now though, this bottom tree needs to get cleaned up as well. So, what's next? I'm still waiting on a few parts to arrive before we can begin looking at the reassembly aspect. I've picked out the motor and battery that I want to use for the project and will order those here pretty soon. I still need to get all of the paint off the frame and tank, and we'll have a special episode for that specifically. So, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. One lucky commenter will also score a couple of Catch Hell Moto stickers. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Catch Hell.